See what's going on? Yeah, what's going on? Tell me what's going on. I'll tell you what's going on. Right on.
Welcome to What's Going On with Lynnete and Corey. Today we're going to sit down with the president of the Lammersville Unified Board of Education, Matthew Balzarini. He's going to give us some information about the school's upcoming year, maybe some resolutions about the upcoming year, and he's going to tell us about his new position at the state level with the school board. So Matt, why don't you come on down and give us some information. That's terrible. You cut this out.
I always hear yourself.
All right, so Matt, you're the president of the Lammersville Unified Board of Education. That's the local school board, for those who did not put those together yet. So why don't you start with telling us about what the school board does and possibly just what boards in general do, because I don't think some people quite get it.
You know, I'm so glad you asked, because based on some of the comments that I've seen on Facebook.
You guys surf Facebook?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I have to, yeah. I mean, usually your threads, it's usually it's apparent that, yeah, I think that some explanation needs to happen. We have to follow the government code, the education code, and we're held by the Brown Act. So there's a misconception that we have public meetings. Our meetings, it's a meeting of the board in the public. That's not an opportunity for the public to participate.
That's the worst part.
The meeting. I know, it's frustrating.
So they have 3 minutes though.
3 minutes, yes, you're right. 3 minutes to kind of come up and pitch their pitch and hope that can sway the board.
And that's per subject, right? So you could actually put in 5 or 6 3-minute things, right? You
Sure.
could start at the beginning, you could do one at each subject. If you really wanted, you could spend 15 minutes. They'd get really mad at you. But
No.
I know there's a lady in the Stockton area that she goes to the Stockton City Council and the Board of Supervisors and gets up there and curses them for her 3 minutes.
All the time?
Every-
Oh my God!
We have this
We
on
need
tape.
someone like that
We
at
should
Mountain
Yes.
House.
Yeah,
We
it's
could make someone like
very
this.
entertaining.
That sounds
Very
amazing.
That'd be funny.
I think the majority of the work from a board level comes from before the meeting. 72 hours, the agenda gets posted. If you have an issue, if you see something's going on, contact your board member. Make sure that the board members understand exactly your perception, your understanding of the issue, because the board has an unlimited time to sway the board members' vote. And if there's something that the board's missing, that we didn't get through staff report, it really has to happen before the meeting. And I've kind of jokingly said all along, I said the meeting happens before the meeting. The meeting is just an opportunity to go in and memorialize it, and it's very formal environment, and it's unfortunate. I guess unfortunate is the word. I don't like it either, but it's not my role. I wish we could just have an open forum and.
So that seems to be where your committees come in though.
Absolutely, and that is the committee, which I'm very appreciative of the board to allow our committee, the Facility Use Committee, to not only, well, first off, be formed, but secondly, the committee has decision-making ability, which can handle things that are time sensitive.
So that brings up a good question. The committees, there are several. At the last school board meeting, they announced who the new people in charge of those committees were, and they talked about the committees being part of members of the school board as well as parts of staff. They're going to add I've heard that they're going to add some citizens to some of those committees. Have you guys put anything out there to see if any citizens are interested? Maybe there's a local doctor that wants to be on the health and wellness committee, or maybe there's a
Local sports
local
fanatic.
sports fanatic wants to be on
Right.
facilities.
Sure. Well, just for clarification, there's only one board committee, and that's the Facility Use Committee.
What are the other board committees?
The other committees are all district committees, and board members sit on them. They're a member. So, like, I'm on the Safety and Crisis Response Committee. Dr. Gill is the chair. It's primarily the assistant principals, and I have a seat, and they are going to bring some community folks into that
They are,
committee
okay.
as well. Yes, we want to try and get, especially committee members that are trained to CERT, because that's kind of a big focus of that committee is the safety and crisis response.
You probably get some overlap there with the CSD's committee, I would think.
Perhaps. In fact, we had a meeting, a kind of a kickoff meeting with, well, it was Steve Gutierrez because he was the chair at the time, but I guess that's changing. Brian's taken over now. So a lot of the traffic safety discussion came from that.
Traffic safety, that sounds like you're talking about crossing guards. Is that what you're getting at there? Is that traffic safety, or is there like a whole different thing?
Our dangerous intersections around our.
People in Mount House don't know how to drive. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if you've known or not.
Yeah, I'm pretty aware. Yeah.
But that's like a blanket statement though from everyone. And some of those people are the ones in the cars that don't know how to drive. Right?
Probably. So is there a plan to add something to increase the safety of our young scholars near the schools?
I love that term, by the way.
Well, you can thank Principal Gonzalez.
Yeah. I'm familiar with that. I'm glad he does that. I think that's pretty neat. It's a concern, and it's definitely on the radar, how we combat the issue. A lot of red tape and a lot of things that we need to deal with. But I can tell you, my personal perspective is our law enforcement partners need to play a role in this, and it's their responsibility, and the CSD oversees law enforcement in this community, so.
Well, it's funny you should say that. I was just having a conversation with Bob Anderson, who is gathering data on Facebook from anyone who has had any concerns or complaints, or had an accident, or had their child hit by a car near a school, walking to school, after school. So it seems like a lot of parents have had the same experience and had the same concerns and the same complaints.
Right.
So my question is, I know a lot of people are saying that people are late to drop their kids off, and that's one of the contributing factors to why the school areas are becoming more dangerous. More people, more kids, more cars, more people that are late. But we only have, what, 2 patrols? One patrol, and we have 5 campuses?
Well, there's only one for the community. We're in negotiation with the Sheriff's Department right now to get a school resource officer. Back when I was campaigning, I sat down with Steve Moore, who's our sheriff. I worked in law enforcement for 12 and a half years. He and I have a really good relationship. And he told me that if I was elected, he told me that when I was elected that approach him and he would cover half the cost of a school resource officer if the district paid the other half. He felt it was that important, which I was a school resource officer myself for 2.5 years in San Francisco, and it's a great program, especially if you get the right fit, right person. But we need that. We need that for our district, we need it for our campuses, and it's only one more additional officer out here, but it's dedicated to the school district.
I know we were having some concerns because we were having huge issues at Bethany, and so we were drawing that one resource over to Bethany, and while that resource was at Bethany, everyone was following the rules, and then I think Cresta blew up.
Right, and that's
So
what happens in a small town, and
Well, is a school resource officer going to help with that anyway? And what we're talking about realistically is more traffic enforcement sort of thing, right? A school resource officer's job is to, effectively hang out at the schools, right? Like he's there to act as something of a counselor in case there's like an active shooter or something, right?
a little bit of both. I mean, if traffic, getting to and from school, the school's responsible for students to and from school. That's by the education code. So we have a duty to make sure that that crossing is done safely, and that we have. If that becomes a task for the school resource officer, then we'll task them to do this.
So you can task him to do something along
Oh,
those lines. He probably doesn't need to enforce. Realistically, if you just got some empty sheriff's cars and you just parked them at some corners, like that would probably work.
I think so.
They do it in Clayton all the time. Like whenever you're driving, there's a couple spots where there'll be a sheriff's car, and you're honestly not sure when you go by whether or not there's a car. They have a dummy they put in too, which is pretty hilarious.
Millbrae does the same thing. Yes.
Yeah, but you
We
always
do
slow
this?
down. You see the cop and
I
you
was just
slow
pro
down.
spike strip, honestly. I thought this would be great.
I'm pretty
Right.
sure that destroying people's
Throw
cars
them
is
out there.
not going to go well.
You can't even drive. I mean, that's what we were joking about. Don't even let them drive, right? Stop the drop-off. Stop people going in the exits.
Well, I
Right.
mean, the irony that we live in a community
Don't
that
even let
was
them get
designed
there.
in the
to
master
walk.
plan, it's based on walking to
And
school.
everyone's going 35
Everyone-
miles an hour
So,
in the school parking lot, going the wrong way to drop their child off.
Wow.
I know. And all I'm saying is that if you think about it logically, this is all happening during the same 20-minute window, right?
Right.
At every single school. So even if we have 5 officers, they're going to be used twice a day, right? For
Well-
40 solid minutes to stop this from happening.
Tell us how you really feel.
the
I have no
community,
opinion.
it's not actually at the committee level. We had a meeting with myself, Dr. Gill, Steve Gutierrez, and then another member from his safety committee, and we kind of strategized and talked about responsibility. We talked about just kind of coming up brainstorming ideas, and I think we have some good ideas that we're going to be seeing coming forward in the near future. But it definitely involves partnering with our law enforcement partners.
I mean, as for the foundation, we had offered, because we get all the same books, right? So we get the school specialty and all of that. And we get the safety book too. And so we had said, there's some great things out there, like movable signs,
Sure.
flashing lights, something, signs saying do not enter, wrong way, no left turn. And
Right.
I know Bethany, we have really wide driveways, right? So it looks like
Yeah.
you can make illegal left turns and you can turn right, which is all you're supposed to do, and you can come in and stop the people making the illegal left turn because you're entering the exit. So people think there's enough room, and that even though there's really no, there's signage, I believe there's enough. They tell you like first day, one way in, one way out.
Right.
I don't know why when the teacher got hit in our parking lot too.
At Bethany?
Yeah. Someone got backed into because someone was on their cell phone.
Okay.
Was that
But,
back I knew
yeah.
it happened, I suppose.
Well, I know Wickham's trying some new stuff,
Mhm.
and we're kind of, the district's evaluating that and seeing if that works, maybe trying to roll that out with the other sites.
I'm a Wickland parent, I don't think it's that bad.
With the stop and the drop.
I mean, I haven't done the stop and the drop, but I've done the class pickup, though, the organized pickup for your students, your scholars, right outside the school, your
Scholars.
classroom's kind of outside the school, and they're in a group, and you go and you grab your kid or whatever. There was some issues with it initially, and parents complained about it a lot, but I don't think it's that bad.
Change is tough.
That's
It
true.
is.
You know, it's worth a shot. I mean, I don't agree with locking down the campus. I don't understand why they lock the back side of the campus.
Yeah.
Wickland.
Well, it's because there was an incident years back, and that was the,
It was open last year, so an incident years back doesn't seem terribly relevant to me.
and now there's a new principal, I don't know, he's
trying some things. He's
trying-
always
Right, he's
he's
trying
trying
some
stuff.
new approaches, and that's good, fresh ideas and, you know, see what works and what doesn't work and adjust.
If there's one thing Wickland's got, it's fresh ideas out of principals. Yeah. Is that a low blow? Sorry.
Well, and even at the high school, because this is my first morning actually leaving when kids are going to the high school. So for me, I was sitting there at the crosswalk, and I was excited to see all these kids smiling and walking, and then 8 minutes later, I'm still sitting at the crosswalk, and I'm still kind of excited, but people are creeping and creeping and creeping into the crosswalk and trying to find a spot in between the kids that they can just go.
My understanding is we'll have a signal there within the next couple of months.
Okay.
Oh, that's awesome. Next one.
That's
I know I
amazing.
saw that someone was going to
Okay.
contact Shay.
Yeah, it's in progress now,
Well,
and
that's
it should be
great.
there very soon.
Kids
Yeah,
are
these stop signs and
Yeah,
on
kids
your
are just
honor,
gonna-
it's not working out.
walk slowly in many cases.
Well, a lot of the kids will wait there until they have enough kids, and then they feel confident enough to go.
Well,
The kid with the bike is not crossing in front of these cars.
Yeah, I've heard a lot, there's been a lot about that.
I read about that too, I think. It's good to hear though that we've got stuff coming in. We've got possible safety things coming in and a new signal. That's really good news. It's actually the first I've heard of it.
We do need safety measures, you know, and it's recognized and we're looking into it, I assure you that.
That's good. I mean, you can't ask for a whole lot more than that. I know I asked about it a while ago, and like you said, there's just a ton of red tape involved. There's insurance, there's regulations, there's people.
There's union problems.
And then you start getting, and then you get
Yeah.
multiple government agencies involved, and it,
Just spirals out
it's
of
slow.
control.
I mean, hey, I was the first one, when I became a board member, that was like, hey, this is dumb, we're gonna change it, and I learned real quick, I learned a lot of things. I learned real quick that, one, government's slow, and if you try to fight it, you're just gonna go crazy. You need to figure out a way to navigate it the best you can, but you have to realize it's slow.
Yeah.
And I also realized on the school board that the local level has very little control over policy. Most of education is driven by the state, and in some cases by the federal government, and it's
By Corey's Facebook post.
On the plus side, that was an excellent segue.
Say that louder.
You were just appointed to a board that actually gets to talk to the school policymakers in the state, right?
correct.
So ideally, you'll be bringing the point of view of some of the smaller districts to the state, right? You want to take a minute, tell us about that, tell us.
Sure.
What's going on with that?
Our district belongs to the California School Board Association, and it's an advocacy group. They offer training for all board members. CSBA has the largest members of board members in the state of California. School board members by far outweighs any other government board. So
Right, that makes
for the
sense.
last, right after I got on the unified board, I ran to be a delegate. So I was one of 4 representatives for our county at the state level. There's 291 delegates that kind of make policy for CSBA, help drive CSBA's focus. And then over the delegates are regional directors. Our regional director for our region is Region 8. She was just made the vice president of CSBA, and I was elected by our region to be the new regional director. So with that, I'm part of the CSBA board, and there's a lot of legislation issues that the organization's dealing with, and going to Sacramento, pound on the legislative doors, and CSBA has full-time lobbyists that also work for education.
So what percentage of this is about funding?
A lot.
How much time?
It's,
Well,
I mean, I can
attention.
give you a little bit on the funding front. Actually, we just got some pretty good news today from the governor. he gave some information about his budget and a significant amount, I believe he said 2.5 million more additional is going to come towards education. So,
2.5 million?
Is
I'm
that,
sorry.
For the entire state?
2.5 billion. Thank
is
you.
I
that
am not
based
impressed.
on high-speed rail sales tickets? We get that money.
Don't get me started
I'm
on
kidding.
high-speed rail.
High-speed rail just broke ground, right?
Train to nowhere?
Yeah.
What? Who
We
doesn't want to take
decided.
high-speed rail to LA?
I'm just saying, we have to sell those tickets to get
Yeah,
our two
right.
places.
Oh,
No,
Obama
he,
has
um,
free community college. That's
That
what
came
we're
out as
doing.
Working
well,
on it.
yes.
Well,
Yes,
yeah,
2
he
years.
wants it to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So there's a lot going on. I think this governor has made education a priority. But it bothers me when he gets out and talks about, oh, I've given education this much more. And, you know, $2 billion more last year, well, great, but what about the $4 billion that you took years prior? So a lot of that's kind of misleading, I think, to the people.
Well, I mean, statistically, don't we spend more money per pupil than like every other developed nation anyway?
I don't have those figures in front of me.
I'm pretty sure that I could be wrong, but I
But we also
think,
spend more on
I
prison.
think we spend like
than any
more.
other nation.
True.
Oh, we're
So-
way ahead on prison. We might not be that far
I
ahead
know.
on school.
So we
We're
want to
not
keep
ahead
the
on prison.
scholars scholarly.
All I'm saying is that we don't get as much bang for our buck out of our school system, I think, as other nations have managed to do. So throwing more money at the schools aren't necessarily going to be the problem. What we want to know is I don't know what I want to know.
Well, I tell you right now,
I'm saying throwing more money isn't necessarily going to solve the problem.
no, and it's a
Problems.
very, very tough time for education. They've pretty much taken everything that education stands for and flipped it upside down with Common Core and LCFF and all these different programs that happen all at once. And it's kind of like, all right, we realize you guys kind of have some momentum. Stop, change everything, and now regroup. And it's like the 49ers. We're rebuilding.
Well, Common Core is a big thing. That just came out, started this year, right, officially in our district.
Officially, yes.
So I actually have a question about Common Core curriculum. I know that we did not buy Common Core curriculum. Is that correct? I like saying I know and then asking if I'm
You know,
correct. We did not buy it. We did not adopt.
We did not
adopt
No.
any sort of Common
Create
Core
it.
curriculum. We
everything's
created our own.
correct. Everything, yes.
Okay, so who created our Common Core curriculum? The teachers who are teaching it, or teachers who aren't necessarily in those grades? Maybe like fifth grade teachers created third grade ones. I honestly
Well,
don't know.
Common Core is built on teacher collaboration. So I can tell you on Monday, I attended the professional development, and every single grade level, every classroom at the high school was taken with every single individual grade level. So all first grade teachers with an administrator were collaborating on curriculum and design and talking about, I can tell you, like, when I walked in, it just perfect segue, I walked into the middle school, 7th grade it was, and they were talking about health education.
And it was the seventh grade teachers who were talking about it, though,
Yes.
trying to formulate the
And
curriculum. Okay.
and Mrs. Buzatil was leading the conversation as the administrator, and that was, they were talking about when and how, and new teachers were talking to veteran teachers about their experience, and do you separate the boys and the girls, what's the best way to do it, and true collaboration, and that's part of the Common Core, and that's part of the piece that I really believe in. I think that's a great way to do it, and very beneficial for the kids, and I'm real big on
Is
consistency.
this a constantly evolving process with the Common Core curriculum they're currently using, though? I mean, this
It is.
professional development, so at the end of the week, they can get together and say, we just did module number 18 or chapter whatever. What happened in your class? How do we feel about this? Are they changing it for themselves now, or are they trying to change it for next year?
They're constantly evaluating it. In fact, those early release days, those are built in for teachers to collaborate also. So they can go and they can not only talk long range, but they can go and look at their individual lessons. Hey, how's it going here? And they can also find out classes that fall behind versus not, and what's going differently in those classes.
So do we have any curriculum developers in our district?
We have a director of curriculum, and a lot of the stuff. I'm sorry.
Is that Gail or Sweden?
No,
I think
Dr.
it's
Sweden.
Sweden, right?
Yeah, Dr. Sweden. Dr. Gill is heavily involved, and actually, Dr. Nicholas. I mean, that is his forte. That's he did curriculum in Stockton, and he's very much involved with what's going on with the district.
Well, I
There's a
think what
school district
Corey-
going emulated Stockton's.
Wow.
I think what Corey was asking was about the development of the curriculum. So we don't have any teachers that are curriculum developers, but the teachers were responsible for developing the curriculum.
Well, they go back to there's curriculum that's already designed that's approved by the state. And then the teachers can take that and kind of figure out what units they're going to teach, how they're going to teach it, so there's still some flexibility with that. But I mean, all curriculum has to be approved by the state. That's based on the education code.
Now-
So sorry, go ahead, Lynnete. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
Oh, you're fine.
But so our teachers are in a collaborative group with an administrator and they're working on the curriculum for, let's take 7th grade for example, they're talking about 7th grade curriculum, they're talking about whatever, sexual health. Once they design a curriculum, they don't have to write that down, then submit that curriculum to the state?
No,
Does
they
that
have to,
be
they
approved?
just adopt curriculum that's already been approved.
Who does?
The teachers, they take it, there's already a curriculum that's been approved by the state that's available. They, you've got 10 different pieces and then they can say, well, I'm gonna take a little bit of here, a little bit of there, and you can put it together.
Oh, so they get the curriculum, they get to kind of, so they effectively what's happening is they're getting a pile of curriculum, and they're going through this pile of curriculum thinking, this is good, this is good, this is good, this is good, and they're pulling that stuff out, so that's what they teach in their class?
Correct.
Does that account, is that each class, or is that district-wide? Do you pull the same pile out and make that every 7th grade teacher, or does each 7th grade teacher get to teach a little bit?
No, they're trying to make it consistent, and that's what the collaboration comes in, is for all the teachers to say, hey, what do we want to teach? How do we want to teach it? So that we really are pushing for consistency across all 7th grade. Across all the grade levels, we want consistency with instruction.
And the teachers who are teaching it are the ones who are pulling out the curriculum, deciding what to teach, right?
And that's, of course, with the guidance of the superintendent, the assistant superintendent.
Sure, okay. That answered my question. Did you want to go ahead?
Well, yeah, so this is what we were talking about before, was Common Core is supposed to be a national education program.
Right,
So we're
well-
not talking about state of California, Stockton and Mountain House teaching the same thing. We're talking about you can move from California to Washington DC, and your child will be able to go into the same grade level class
Right.
and learn the same things.
It was a federal program, it's called Race to the Top, and that's how it initially started. And there was funding tied to it from national funds. And the state of California adopted it, and then the very next month, the federal funding went away. So the state of California, you'll see a lot of states are actually pulling out, saying, hey, we're done with your Common Core stuff.
How many states so far?
I don't know. I don't know off the top of my
I
head.
heard 12. Everyone keeps saying
That number sounds right.
It sounds right, doesn't it?
I don't
Sorry.
know off the top of my head.
I honestly haven't been entirely too involved in how many states are teaching abstinence only. I'd be much closer to guessing that number than I would how many you pull out of Common Core right
I thought
now,
like
so.
New York for some reason was like the 12th one to say, hey, we're done.
I believe it.
Okay.
Very political. So our state has adopted Common Core, and what we're teaching is, it's state standards, and I really don't know how much in line it is with the federal standards anymore, because, like I said, the funding's gone, so they can kind of design it how they want. So I don't have the answer to that.
Do you have an opinion on Common Core? Better question is, do you have an opinion you'd like to give us on Common Core?
Well,
Do you have an opinion you're allowed to give us on that?
That might be
I can give
a
you-
better question.
I can give you my personal opinion, sure. Change is hard.
Sure.
And it's hard, as a parent, it's hard to sit down with your kid and look at homework because it's different now. And I see the same thing coming from a lot of people on Facebook and conversations I have at work, other in the Bay Area, everywhere has the same complaint. It's like, why does my kid have to show the work? Because you can get to the answer so much easier without doing it. It's like, right, but I was a trainer for police officers, and just in the 10 years from when I got in to versus when I started teaching, I saw a huge shift in adult learning. People learn differently now, and it's the social age, the computer age, they just learn differently. So if we don't start teaching differently, we're going to lose these kids. So it's
I have an opinion. Go.
So it's let him finish his first one.
I want to be next.
I'm trying to, I don't want to say buy in, because of course, I'm bought in, I'm a board member, we don't
It's
have
your
a
personal
choice.
opinion, you
It's
don't have to
it's
buy.
here to stay, it's here to stay, but
Nobody will see
boy,
this.
it was hard to swallow, it was difficult to understand, but now that especially because I'm at CSBA, I'm seeing the light, and I'm hearing stories from board members from across the state that all say, we have to teach differently, our kids learn differently. This stuff, when they sit down to do their assignments now, it's different. Their brains are wired differently. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
So
I understand what you're saying.
Here's my point. So it's not about it being different. Parents are expecting better. And so in some areas, we're not seeing better. And I'm not pointing a finger in any direction. I'm saying a lot of states have pulled out because they're not seeing better.
sure.
Their children are not learning at the same rate that they were learning at. And some of the information that you would expect them to get, they're not actually getting anymore. We were heavily focused on memorization, right? Like they come
Sure.
into kindergarten, it's sight word, sight word, sight word, right?
Still sight words.
We want them to learn things and know things and just be able to give us that information back, like multiplication tables.
Road
We're not worried-
memorization's not that useful.
No, we're not worried about multiplication tables anymore. We're worried about like drawing pictures and circles around those and grouping things. And by the time the kids are done drawing all of these pictures, they don't really know why they're drawing anymore. And so, and my issue is, I have homework, and it's asking me to do all of that with my child. We do all of that, then guess what the check part is? It's do and check. Guess what the check is for multiplication?
Hit your phone?
Write it out, the 3 numbers times the 2 numbers, and do that. And all I'm saying is, to me, that's more effective work to be showing, and that's what I want my child to know how to do, and that's what I want my child to continue to do. And that,
I understand.
to me, is...
I do.
That's what I'm saying, and those are 2 different ways of learning and different ways of teaching, and my son's over here drawing circles and grouping things, and it's not resonating with him. But if he doesn't do that, he's doing it wrong.
Right. And this is the problem that I have with Common Core is there's too much government control over it. And there's not enough, the local level is not allowed to adapt it. And that's the problem that I have, is because just like every child learns differently, different districts learn differently and different paces. And there's different dynamics going on in the district and different socioeconomic issues have to play into it. And although they're preaching local control, we really don't have local control. It's a state-driven mandate, it's a state-driven program.
Well, the testing is not developed by you,
Right, and
these standards.
I am
Tested.
just as frustrated as the other parents that are out there that have kids in schools. And it's, like I said, government's slow, this is something new. So it really, really bothers me that because of government slowness that some of these kids that are just happen to be in this grade level right now, they're gonna miss out. It's gonna set them back. We're told that, but once we get it, they'll hit the ground running, they'll make up for it on the tail end. I don't know, we'll see. But that's why I'm a board member. That's why I'm involved with CSBA, and we have to watch the stuff closely.
Your email address is available on the website?
Absolutely.
It's
Balzarini at sjcoe.net.
I just want to make one point, though. So, asking people to reach out to non-paid employees of the district. How much of your time?
Well, we do pay them $100 per meeting,
$100 per meeting.
which they mostly
Which
donate, I
donates
think.
right back to the school.
So I'm just saying, how much of your time do you feel that you're actually spending with your constituents? Not just Corey and I know we suck up a lot of time. But I mean like hours per week. How much are you being taxed as a board member? What are we asking of you?
It's hard to say. I mean, it just kind of depends on what's going on. Sometimes I'm in a different position because I have, the CSBA responsibilities as well. It just depends. I don't know. It's it really doesn't matter. That's the way I do
Oh,
it.
no, I'm just asking,
that's why I do
like,
it.
give me a range.
I don't know. I mean,
Worst week, best week.
if we have an assembly and I go and I see a bunch of people, usually I get a bunch of phone calls and emails and stuff following that. So that could be, 10, 15 hours in
In a
that
week?
week. Sure.
Wow, that's a lot of hours.
A lot of email, and then, if you want to talk about time, we have to watch what's going on throughout the state as board members. We get emails, I get emails daily from CSBA, but all the board gets emails every week from CSBA. We have to follow what's going on with legislation, we have to follow what's going on with other districts and case law, and we have to be in the know and kind of anticipate. We'll sit here and, it's kind of the ongoing joke, is watching the governor, what he's saying from now until July, as far as the budget's concerned, to try and figure out, okay, can we start planning for programs or not? And then the May revise comes out, and it's like completely different than what we heard today, I'm sure. And then between May and July, it's something different. So a lot of it hinges on that, and it's...
And you have to review all the notes from the previous meeting, which are anywhere between 60 and 80 pages.
For the board meetings? Well,
You have to
yeah,
review all of those, but then
Sure.
you have to review the information that's on the agenda for that night as well.
sure.
How much time do you spend just reading documents?
I don't know. Every morning I get on my computer for hours and just read school-related stuff. And
Daily
then-
activity?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's just part of it, yeah. And there were, especially when I was going through the fire academy, 37 years old, I started a new career a couple years ago, and I went through the fire academy, and it was really, really hard. And I thank my board because they carried me. I was able to do both. I considered resigning, and they were able to keep me in a loop, but I was able to kind of piecemeal it, make it work. And I'm very, very proud of our team. Our board works well together, even if we don't agree with each other. we reach consensus, we respect each other, and if you look at the different areas of expertise on this board, it's very well diverse, and I think that this community is lucky to have us. It's a real good group. And I did want to add a couple pieces of important legislation facing us real quick if we have time.
Yeah, why not? Good.
So, construction bond. We are in line for funding for Hanson Elementary. If the construction bond doesn't come through and we don't get that money, we might be in a world of hurt. And right now, the governor is saying that he does not want to pass any more school bonds. He said he wants to get out of the bond business altogether and let each local entity deal with it themselves, which would mean a bond out here.
And we have nothing else to tax except our.
Oh, yeah, no, it would definitely be, it would be a tax measure for the residents to have to.
So who do we email for or contact that? Is that directly to the governor thing? You have to ask the school board bond, or is that a state
I
legislature?
think, I think the best way to do it is through our local legislators, so.
Who's our local?
Galgiani and Eggman, yeah.
So I know Agnes, she comes by the Mountain House CSD like once a month and does,
And that's a great opportunity to go sit down with her aide and just let them know, hey, pass the school bond. But I can tell you, CSBA is fighting for it, and that's one of the things that I get to do, especially because it affects us so directly, is that the lobbyists at CSBA said, hey, we're gonna get you out there, we need you to tell your story. So we're gonna, Lammersville will be showcased at the state level, probably with the governor.
when are we expecting Hanson to start coming online? Has anyone moved into Hanson yet?
Yes, actually, there have been people moving in there, and
You should interview the first person who ever moved into Hanson.
They already moved in.
That'd be kind of fun.
we're monitoring those numbers closely.
We're watching.
We're still, number-wise, we're still good. We're quite a ways away.
Yeah, there's not many houses.
But we need that construction bond to come through so we pay for design, now we need to start getting the rest of the plans and all that stuff. And then the other thing is this other Senate Bill, 858, which the board passed a resolution last night, and that has to do with caps. They're talking about capping districts so that you don't hold reserves, which would just be devastating for us because they consider your bonding capacity and Melrose bonds as part of that capacity. So,
So that's the same thing, John, Eggman and Galgiani, that's the same. These are all state level.
State level, right, Assembly and Senate, right. So, we reach out to your legislators, I'm doing the same through CSBA, but people.
That's how democracy works, your voices need to be heard.
Absolutely, no, we need people to get involved, and please, if there's other questions, contact me, I can get as much information as I can from CSBA and pass it on. But the people in this community should be educated what's going on.
So would you consider then holding an informational night where you provide this information to your constituents?
I think we will when we get a little bit closer. I think right now it's still kind of far off. We're waiting to see, like I said, things shift so much that we have to kind of fill it out and find the right time.
Well, we have lots of people who love to email angry
Good.
emails,
Angry
especially
emails,
about
yeah.
our schools, but if they don't know what they're angrily emailing.
Right.
Yeah,
And like I said,
If you want to direct
Yeah.
them.
The first step was to get our board resolution, which we did last night. As my role as a CSBA director, I have 6 counties that I oversee. So now I'm going to every single district in those 6 counties and saying, hey, get your letter in, let's go. And then that'll go to the governor, and through our lobbyists at CSBA, we'll know kind of the next step. When we get there, trust me, I'll be reaching out.
I mean, the cynic in me just says that it seems weird, or it seems like the governor's already gonna know that the school board association is gonna want him to pass more school bonds and to not reduce caps.
Right.
So you really need the constituents to email the people who aren't necessarily at the school boards, because obviously the schools want more money, because.
No, you're right.
The weird thing would be if the school board association was like, yeah, we don't need that money at all. Then the government would probably take some extra notice, but at this point I would imagine it's kind of rote, right? So we really need the constituents themselves to email
Sure.
out and send out
Absolutely.
some additional information.
And, these state representatives are your representatives. They were elected by the people out here, just like your local.
Yeah. I remember voting, I voted. Little sticker.
Good. Voting's good.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us tonight, Matt. I think there was a ton of good information. I know I'm looking forward to additional communications from the LUSD, and I think the entire community probably is as well.
Additional enhanced communication.
Yes. Yes.
Not 8 robocalls in one day. We are so over that, right? See,
I-
nobody even remembers now.
You got 8 robocalls in one day?
I did.
Because your
Terrible.
child didn't pay their,
No.
because I was getting those robocalls, and I didn't have a kid in the district at the time. so-
Oh, yeah, I put my kid on the auto pay, it's fine.
So, thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys letting me come down and talk all this good fun stuff, and hope I can go back.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, and like I said, your website, or the website is lusd.net, right? No, it's not, it's
Lammersville
Lammersville Unified, I don't know what the
Lammersville School
website
District.
is.
Lammersville School District.net.
Thing.
Not net, okay.
And your email, though, is mbalzerini@sjcoe.net.
He knows that one.
Yes.
Well, I've used that one recently. So if you have questions for one of your school board members, remember you can always contact any of them. Matt will be more than happy to answer questions, so will Shane, Sharon, Colin, or David as well. And then, as Matt said, if you have questions about the curriculum, the right choice is probably Dr. Gill initially. And if it's something local at your own school, contact your principal. Your relationship with your principal is probably more important than, well, okay, contact your teacher first, and then if your teacher can't do it, then contact the principal. So you want to establish a good relationship with the members of your local school, because that's where you're going to get the most help. So all right, so thank you very much for coming on, though. And yeah, we'd love to have you on again, whenever you're available. I know it took a little while to schedule this one, so.
I hope we have more
I
exciting
think Dave's
stuff
turn
next time.
next, right?
All right, so.
You're gonna stop in a
Thank you very
tax
much for coming on.
conversation? Yeah, I know
Hope
what
to see you
that
again.
means.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Who was?
Yeah, he's been doing great. He has been. I just thought he had like a fly or something.